Welcome to FARING Colony Dominion, where you'll compete to gather resources and dominate the colony. To win, be the first to collect all resources on your card and summon your faction's army for victory. Resources include shipyards, energy zones, mining areas, housing zones, agriculture zones, and water resources. The amount of resources received from a sector is determined by its proximity to the center of the playing field, with closer sectors providing more resources. First, fill the board with resource tokens. The central ring of sectors has to be filled with each of the 6 resources. Start from the central ring and work your way out, ensuring a maximum of 7 tokens per type, except for water, limited to 4. After placing resource tokens, it is time to choose your faction. Each player rolls the dice, and the player with the highest number selects their faction first, followed by others in descending order. Each faction has its own characteristics and battleship costs. Place your flagship on the perimeter of the game board to mark your starting position. This choice is crucial, as it determines your initial landing point and sets the stage for your strategy in the game. On your turn, move your flagship to any sector adjacent to your landing sector. You can also choose to place an extraction plant in the landing sector right away, but doing so requires you to remain stationary for that first turn. Your movement options are limited to adjacent sectors in any available direction. To place an extraction plant in a free sector, draw the corresponding resources event card and follow its instructions to explore the sector. Typically, players either roll a dice to determine the event outcome, or each player rolls a dice to decide the outcome. You can only draw an event card when placing a resource plant in a sector. Aerial battles are mini-games that occur when the aggressor's flagship enters a sector occupied by a resource plant belonging to another faction. Each player can send up to 3 battleships to battle. Battles take place on a board divided into 3 lines, 6 cells, 3 cells, and 1 cell. The goal is to move all deployed battleships to the 3rd, 1 cell line to win. Players take turns moving their battleships by rolling dice and following movement rules. If the entire 2nd line is occupied by battleships and an enemy battleship is present, it is destroyed, and your battleship takes its place. If there is an empty cell on the 2nd line, your battleship occupies it. The player who first removes all their battleships from the board or destroys all of the enemy battleships wins the aerial battle. Upon capturing an enemy sector and dismantling a resource plant, the defeated player returns their resource plant token to their hand for potential reuse. The winner can decide whether to place their resource plant on the captured sector or not. The winner of an aerial battle immediately receives the amount of resources that the captured sector provides, as a bonus. In the event of your victory in an aerial battle, the opponent gives you 1 unit of each resource they have available. The losing player in the aerial battle must immediately relocate their flagship to any sector within the outer ring of the game board. Captured sectors do not increase the resource plant limit. There are always 6 resource plants per faction. Each player starts the game with an initial count of resources represented by red circles on their player card. This initial count signifies the starting resources for each faction. Move the marker on the resource scale of your player card to reflect the resources collected. You collect resources from the sectors containing your resource plants at the start of your turn. Buying battleships must be done at the beginning of your turn, after counting the extracted resources. Exceeding the resource limit on the card is not important. Excess resources are not taken into account. At the outset, each player acquires 3 battleship tokens specific to their faction. These tokens serve as resources during the aerial battle minigame and do not reflect the total number of battleships in a player's fleet. Diplomacy is possible. You can choose not to engage in an aerial battle, thus losing control over the sector. Your resource plant returns to you anyway. By mastering these actions, you can strategically capture sectors, gather resources, and outmaneuver your opponents in FARING Colony Dominion.